Everyone, let's please rise for the pledge. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Item 1B, approval of agenda and items for discussion.
I move that the agenda for the November 17th, 2025 regular meeting be approved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'd like to discuss, let's see, closed session. We have on here closed session for the very end of the day here, which means our lovely attorney is going to have to sit around here for quite a few hours waiting for us. One of my thoughts is if we could move that up the list maybe, and I don't see a reason it needs to be a closed session. So I guess I would try to amend the agenda to remove the closed session from our agenda and just have the action item on the school aid funding. So I don't know if that's probably a two-step.
Right, so just so I'm clear, you'd like to eliminate item 4, which is the closed session,
Correct.
and you would like to add a discussion item?
No, I'd like to ultimately remove item 4 and move item 5 to A. That way it can be the first action item. Our attorney can answer questions, whatever, and then she can be on her way and we don't have to keep her here all night.
Okay. I'm thinking we need to take it in 2 separate steps.
Okay, so I guess first I'd move that we remove the closed session request, item 4, from the agenda. Second.
Okay, so motion on the table from Mr. Scott, supported by Mr., was that Mr. Gogoleski I heard?
Yeah.
Thank you. To remove item 4 from the agenda, and we'll address the other half later. So right now, the motion is just to remove item 4 from the agenda, and that is the closed session regarding legal consultation for 31AA funding.
Correct.
Is there any discussion on that motion?
So I can just give a little reasoning here. So the idea is I don't think that a closed session is necessary in order to do what we need to do tonight. And I think the reasoning for going into a closed session is kind of thin here. I know under the Michigan Open Meetings Act, there is an allowance to consider material exempt from discussion under state statute. But I'm going to read directly here from the Michigan Open Meetings Act handbook, and it says, quote, "But note, a board is not permitted to go into closed session to discuss an attorney's oral opinion as to opposed to a written legal memorandum," unquote. And that then cites Booth Newspapers v. Wyoming City Council. Furthermore, and the reason I think that's important is we did receive some communication from our attorney about the 31AA funding, but from talking to a lot of other board members, it didn't seem like they had any questions, and I can't speak for everyone, obviously, about what's actually in this communication. Most of the questions were in addition to this. And so that's why I think it's important that we can't just receive oral opinion in a closed session. It has to be specifically the written opinion, which, again, I don't think any of us have questions on. Furthermore, in People versus Whitney, Michigan Court of Appeals says the closed session must be limited to the discussion of confidential legal advice, again, as presented in legal opinion. And in that ruling, it says, quote, "It would be illogical to construe the attorney-client privilege exemption as authorizing a public body to evade the open meeting requirement of the OMA merely by involving a written opinion from an attorney in the substantive discussion of a matter of public policy for which no other exemption in the OMA would allow a closed meeting. To avoid this illogical result, we conclude that the proper discussion of a written legal opinion at a closed meeting is, with regard to the attorney-client privilege, limited to the meaning of any strictly legal advice presented in the written opinion. The attorney-client privilege exemption does not extend to matters other than the provision of strictly legal advice, unquote. So I would ask then, if our attorneys have sent us this memo, which went to countless other districts, dozens, hundreds of other districts, and the memo, which we are going to be discussing, does not contain any recommendation of proposed course of action, how can we argue that that is strictly legal advice or substantive in any way? The memo is neutral. It offers no definitive opinion, recommendation, or legal conclusion. It does not meet the threshold for strictly legal advice, which is required to be present for the need to go into closed session. The attorney-client privilege communication we have is honestly more like a newsletter than a protected document. It mirrors countless other non-privileged documents that have been circulated via email, online, and social media, and even talking points put out by the MASB. I believe we risk violating the OMA by pretending to interpret this document as tailored protective advice rather than what it really is, which is just general information which happens to have been produced by an attorney. That puts each and every one of us in jeopardy of facing penalties associated with violating the Open Meetings Act. And from Section 12 of the OMA, it says, quote, "A public official who intentionally violates this act is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by a fine of not more than $1,000. So again, it is my recommendation we remove the closed session from our agenda, and we have our discussion right here out and open in front of our constituents, taxpayers, parents, and students.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Is there any further discussion?
I have a quick opinion, and just to be a little less technical than what was just discussed, I think that is, as a matter of informing the public over an issue, this is a very important issue, and I think we should be able to talk and discuss the key points of this issue with our attorney in front of everyone, because many times we'll have parents that come up here that are a little upset, and the reason why they're upset is because they really don't have the information that they thought they'd get from being in the meeting. So I think what we can do is, by having this open, we can educate the general public in terms of what we're facing with this decision. So.
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, that was kind of an extension of our conversation yesterday, that there is information that I think is out in the public on social media, what have you, surrounding 31AA, that is misleading to those that don't do the research and don't do the digging, that it is just a simple decision, and that so you're either choosing between, safety and security for students, or you're choosing legal privilege, right? Or privilege for transparency, right? So and it's not as simple as that. There's a whole lot more to it. So I appreciate that comment too. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. The motion on the table is to amend the agenda brought forth by Mr. Scott, supported by Mr. Gogolewski. We're to remove item 4, which is the closed session, from the agenda. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, so item 4 has been removed from the agenda. Mr. Scott, would you like to address the second part?
Yes, I'd like to move that we move item number 5, the State School Aid Act, Section 31 AA funding resolution, to action item A.
So,
Yeah, 2A.
yep, so moving item number 5 up to item 2A, then shifting everything else under section 2 down a letter.
Correct.
Okay, so that is your motion. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. Okay, so motion by Mr. Scott, supported by Mr. Campbell, to move item 5 to item 2A as as an action item. Is there any discussion on that? I think Mr. Scott kind of addressed the rationale behind that. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Again, this is to amend the agenda, moving item 5 up to item 2A, proposed by Mr. Scott, supported by Mr. Campbell. Mr. Gogoleski,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Custodio,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, so we have now moved item 5 up to item 2A. So 2A is now 31AA. And all the others will shift out one letter. So section 2, or the second section of the agenda, now goes through item 2G. Everybody else have that? Okay. Okay. Any further discussion or amendments to the agenda? The original motion on the floor here is brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio, to approve the agenda and items for discussion. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. Mr. Gogoleski,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
I'm a yes. That motion carries. Item 1C, consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda for the November 17th, 2025 regular meeting be approved.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw. Do I have a support?
Second.
Thank you. Support by Ms. Custodio. Any discussion on the item? Hearing none. For the consent agenda brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio. Mr. Gogoleski,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Custodio,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion carries. Item 1D, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, thank you. So the first item up is an introduction to a new hire. So I'm going to have Mrs. Gunn and Gabby come up. First of all, I want to, and I'm going to steal a little bit of thunder from Mrs. Gunn. However, it's really important. You recall that a few years ago, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, we were concerned about finding teachers. We were concerned about the shortage of teachers out in the world. And so we started the cadet teaching program with Ms. Wozni and Mr. Aldred. Stand up. You gotta take these two high school teachers, jumped in, CTE program, and started a cadet teaching program. So thank you for doing that, first of all. Awesome. And Gabby represents our very first Hartland High School cadet teacher to be hired in this school district. That's pretty awesome. So
All right. So myself, along with some supporting members of the Creekside staff, are pleased to introduce Gabby Botello, a proud Hartland High School graduate whose deep connection to this district has shaped both her educational journey and her professional path. During her senior year in 2022, she discovered her passion with working with students through our Hartland High School cadet teaching program, an experience that inspired her to pursue a career in education. We still have this program today, and it's so nice to see students entering this program in high school and coming back to teach with us once graduating at college. Gabby recently completed her student teaching at Creekside Elementary, where she did an outstanding job. Throughout her placement, she consistently demonstrated the qualities we hope to see in our newest educators: a strong instructional practice, excellent rapport with students, thoughtful planning, eagerness to learn, and a willingness to actively seek out and apply feedback. She quickly became a trusted member of the classroom community, and her ability to engage students, differentiate instruction, and maintain a positive, structured learning environment were clear strengths. Her mentor, teacher, and the Creekside staff spoke highly of her professionalism, collaborative spirit, and natural ability to connect with the students. In addition to her student teaching experience, Gabby has served as a substitute teacher across Hartland District, building strong relationships with students, staff, and school communities. These experiences have only strengthened her commitment to Hartland and her enthusiasm for officially joining the district long-term. Beyond the classroom, Gabby remains actively involved in the community through coaching recreational volleyball and assisting in the 7th grade volleyball team. She values the opportunity to support students beyond academics and help them build confidence both on and off the court. I know we are all excited at Creekside to welcome Ms. Botello to the Hartland team as a 2nd grade teacher. Thank you for your support in welcoming her to this role. Welcome, Gabby.
I just want to say thank you so much. It's truly been a dream of mine coming back from 3 years ago in the cadet program, and I've always wanted to teach in Hartland and be a part of the community, so I am super excited. Thank you.
I do tell people regularly that within the CTE options that our students have throughout the county, this program is probably the one program that there's more immersion into the field than any other CTE program, because our students are out there in year 1, and then they're out there in year 2 for a couple hours a day working in our classrooms with our children. So again, congratulations. Thank you again, Mr. Aldred and Ms. Wozni and the high school for supporting that CTE program. So good job. Next, we will turn it over to Rachel. Rachel, we're going to do our audit presentation.
Yep, I would like to pass it further down the line to Nick Kosaris. I'm sorry, they don't want to listen to you, Nick. Apologize. Don't take it personally. Nick was our point person for our audit this year. As you know, we approved Maynard Castarian as our new audit firm this year, and we were really pleased with how smooth the audit went, and Nick and his team were prepared and professional, and things went really well. So from the district standpoint, we were very happy with how things turned out. So I will turn it over to Nick.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as Rachel mentioned, Nick Caceres with Maynard Cost. I can, yeah. Is that better? As Rachel mentioned, Nick Caceres with Maynard Costeres, and here tonight just to give a brief update on the 2025 audits. Planning to keep tonight's presentation pretty brief, probably 5-10 minutes tops. But as I go through, if anything comes up, jogs your memory, you have any questions, feel free to just jump right in. Really quick, just because it's my first time out here presenting at Hartland, I just want to give a little bit of a background on Maynard Cost-Harrison. We're a regional-sized CPA firm with offices in Lansing and Grand Rapids. We have right around 200 employees, providing a wide range of services for our clients, the traditional audit, tax, accounting, wealth management, and technology as well. In terms of our expertise specifically in the education arena, I would say we're very well versed. We do over 120 school district audits on an annual basis. To get that done, we dedicate right around 50 of our professional staff from the beginning of May through the end of October to get those audits buttoned up and finalized and submitted to the state by the November 1st deadline. So certainly keeps us busy in the summer and into the fall, but an area that we're passionate about. All right, getting right into the audit update. First and foremost, I'd like to echo exactly what Rachel said. Hats off to the business office team. Rachel, Jordan, everyone that we worked with was just absolutely fantastic. First year audits are very, very challenging. We ask a ton of questions and request a ton of information, but they took everything in stride. Every time we walked in, they had smiles on their face, probably not when we left, but when we walked in for the most part, all while trying to keep or handle and juggle their normal day-to-day tasks. So we really appreciate them, just overall very knowledgeable, responsive, and just great to work with. So thank you, Rachel, to you and your team, and we look forward to next year. Getting into the financial statements, as I'm sure you've been told in the past, Hartland Consolidated Schools is subject to a single audit in accordance with uniform guidance. There's two components to a single audit, the financial statement audit and the federal award audit. That first component, the financial statement audit, we have finalized that audit, and that's been submitted to MDE by the November 1st deadline. With respect to that financial statement audit, we did issue an unmodified opinion that's often referred to as a clean opinion and consistent with what you've seen in the past. Essentially, we're providing reasonable assurance that the financial statements as presented accurately reflect what happened at Hartland Consolidated Schools during fiscal year 2025. So that's good news. The second component, the federal award audit, probably or definitely inconsistent with previous years. That piece has not been finalized. And the reason for that being is we're waiting for the release of the 2025 OMB compliance supplement. For those of you that do not know, that's a couple thousand-page document that the federal OMB puts out on an annual basis. And essentially, the applicable U.S. departments goes through that compliance supplement and essentially says, if you're testing program X, Y, and Z, we want you to do these steps. So as you can imagine, without having the 2025 edition of that compliance supplement, under professional standards, we cannot finalize that piece of the single audit. But as it stands now, we've done our testing based on what was in last year's supplement, as well as a draft of the 2025 supplement. So we feel good about the procedures we've performed. We're just waiting on the feds to get around to releasing that document, and then hopefully it's just us comparing the final version with the draft, and we say, yep, we did all those procedures, let's go final. So that's kind of where things stand on that piece. It's wait and see at this point, but I'll keep Rachel updated. And that federal award audit piece is due to MDE 30 days after the release of the supplement. So that's where we're at now on that piece, but we will keep you updated. Really quick, this is the only slide within my presentation that talks about the numbers. It's a very summarized governmental fund balance sheet. So you can see your major funds there, your general fund, 2022 bond fund, capital project set aside, which is a new major fund in the current year, and your combined debt service fund. So this shows your assets, liabilities, and fund balance for each of those funds as of 6/30/2025. More detail on these numbers and what makes up these numbers can be found on pages 14 and 15 within your audit. But just really quick, a couple highlights in the general fund. General fund, as you can see, ended the year with about $21.5 million in total fund balance. After you back off the non-spendable portion, which would be like your inventories and things that you prepaid for, as well as a piece that you've unassigned for next year's budget deficit, you arrive at about $19.9 million in unassigned fund balance, and that's what you have available heading into fiscal year 2026 to meet your general operating needs. Taking it a step further, and I'm sure you've talked about this in the past in previous presentations, as it's a pretty common metric that you hear about in school finance, but taking that general fund balance and taking it as a percentage of current year expenditures. As you can see on the screen there, as of 6/30/2025, or for the year ended 6/30/2025, general fund balance was about 31.2% of current year expenditures. You can compare that to a year ago. For the year ended 6/30/2024, it was about 27.4%. And that previous year number can be compared to the Livingston County average of about 21.7%. So above the county average at the end of the previous year. Unfortunately, I don't have the county average for 2025 yet, as those numbers haven't been published. But again, the increase in the current year in 2025 with the increase in fund balance and the general fund. Then last couple slides here, I mentioned you're subject to a single audit in accordance with uniform guidance as you spent more than $750,000 in federal awards. The SNP on the right side of the screen here just kind of highlights what I talked about earlier, the two components to a single audit. The financial statement piece on top, for which we issued an unmodified opinion with no deficiencies or noncompliance reported. And then the bottom half of that is the federal award piece. As things are trending now, you can see the unmodified opinion there. based on the testing we've performed with the information that we have at this time. As part of that federal award audit, we tested the child nutrition cluster as our major program in the current year, and happy to report as things stands, no issues to report for the current year. And we did follow up on last year for the child nutrition cluster. That was tested as a major program in the previous year. There was a finding with regards to internal controls over reporting. We did testing on the internal controls over reporting in the current year with regards to the child nutrition cluster, and happy to report those controls are in place as were outlined in the corrective action plan in the previous year audit. So that's good news, and hats off to the team again. And then last slide here, in addition to the audited financial statements that we've issued, there are 2 corresponding letters that were issued as well. The 3-pager that's stapled is referred to as the governance letter. This is a required communication between us, the auditors, and the Board of Education. This is in place just ensuring if there's anything that is significant that comes up over the course of the audit, it is actually getting relayed to governance and not just staying with management. That being said, nothing of that significance this year. That's pretty much boilerplate language and consistent with what you've seen in previous years. And then the last piece, we did issue a management letter following up on a previous year comment. In the previous year management letter, the food service fund balance is over the maximum amount allowed by MDE as of 6/30/2025. Rachel and her team are aware of this and working towards getting that spent down, hopefully by the end of June 30th, 2026. Any questions or comments?
Just one quick question. You mentioned that for that part that we're waiting from the feds,
Yep.
You've got 30 days to be able to complete the audit after that is released. Do you anticipate any issues with 120 of these that you have to fit into 30 days to finalize? Just meeting that
That's a
timing?
great question. I haven't got that question yet this year, and I haven't got that far. I'm thinking it ahead, but no, we're not gonna have any issues.
Okay.
We don't anticipate any significant changes in the final version. If for whatever reason there was a significant change, maybe that changes our discussion, but we feel comfortable easily getting those, well, we probably have 90 single audits out of the 120, but getting those out in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All righty, thank you so much.
One quick question, sorry. So you said it was the cafeteria fund that was over?
Yep,
What is the allowable amount in the fund?
3 months operating expenditures. So you take total expenses, back off capital expenditures, stuff that's not, I guess, annualized or something that you're paying for on an annual basis. And then you take 3/9 of that.
Okay. So is there, how far above that were we?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think,
I was just curious because the board was asked to increase lunch and breakfast prices a couple months ago. So if our cafeteria fund is over the allowed balance, I'm wondering why that recommendation would have been made.
yeah, and I think, I mean, this is a pretty common management letter comment that
Yeah.
we've had among all of our school districts with the COVID era funding and the free meals, which led into the additional receipts per meal that got a ton of districts in this situation. But yeah, again, speak to the
All right,
recommendation.
thank you.
Nick, thank you. Just to clarify for the public listening out there, an unmodified opinion is the best opinion that you can provide a school district as an auditing agency, is that correct?
It is. It is the highest level of assurance that we can provide for financial statement audits.
Thank you very much. So we'll take that as an A. And then certainly in regards to the questions about the fund balance and the cafeteria plan, certainly I would encourage you to reach out and sit down with Rachel. I'm sure that she can answer all those questions for you and has a plan for how all that money's being spent and what our plan is for where we were over, such as coolers at the high school and things like that that maybe weren't charged off prior to the audit being completed at the end of 2024, 25, right? June of 25. So I'm sure Rachel has all the answers that you would ever want if you just give her a call. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Next up, we have Ms. Haddam, going to do a presentation on happenings at Round. Thank you, Ms. Haddam.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks for having me. I'm here to brag about Round today. So this is the Round staff, well, the teaching staff, and this is our vision statement. We spent a lot of time developing that last year, and it actually ended up being AI generated based on what staff thought we did well and what we aspired to be. And I underlined embracing mistakes, because one of the things that is important when you're trying to improve your practice is making some mistakes, right? Trying some things and being okay with it being a little gritty sometimes. And also embracing mistakes, because we want students to know that when they don't know everything, that's okay, that they need to try and make mistakes and develop some of that grit and perseverance. So we've really taken on embracing mistakes this year. Big focus on growth mindset. I don't know it yet, right? I'll know it soon if I keep working. So I wanted to put that in there. And then I went to the My School data site. You might be familiar with it. At that site, you can pull data on your school. These graphs show our 3-year school performance, which means percent achieving, right? This isn't about growth. These ones aren't. I do have some growth slides for you, but. So this is all students in English language arts. Round is the top. The middle bar are schools that have similar student characteristics or demographics. And then, of course, the state's at the bottom. So we're pretty proud that we're doing well there in language arts. These are our mathematics performance for all students. These are economically disadvantaged students in English language arts. So almost double the state. We're pretty proud of that. These are our economically disadvantaged students in mathematics. These are our students with disabilities in English language arts, and our students with disabilities in math. So those are our percent proficient kind of information. But what's really cool is you can also get progress data. So this is data over 3 years about how well our students are growing. So students who are already proficient are continuing to grow. And then what percentage of students are moving at a rate that they're going to close the gap and be proficient in like a 3-year period, I think is what they base that on. So this is all students in English language arts. And this is all students in mathematics. These are economically disadvantaged students in English language arts, economically disadvantaged students in math. These are English language arts students with disabilities. That's a triple dip. That means they're getting instruction with their teacher, they're getting instruction in small group during our intervention time, and then they're also receiving their resource room time. So we're very proud of that. It's working. And this is our students with disabilities in mathematics, which created a lot of conversation about how do we start getting third dips for students with disabilities in math. We're working on that. That's the next thing for us to work on. So how do we do it? Of course, our mantra is give to all, gains for all. Obviously, the staff works very hard. They're very collaborative. We've been as proactive with behavioral efforts as possible. 100% of the staff at Round has worked with coaches. And I think that's a testament to their willingness to change and grow and take risks. We've protected our intervention time and tried to guarantee those second and third dips for students who need it. We have enrichment for our highly capable students, and we've been able to do that with a teacher the last couple of years, which is really nice. We have done a really good job of respecting each other's time and person, because people get pulled and things are hard and some days you're not there because you're sick. And so rallying around each other and being okay with that. We've spent a lot of time studying Hattie's research. We know that that window from 0 to 8 is super important for literacy. So we really try to make sure that by the time they're 8, they're in good shape to be proficient. We also did a lot of work around Hattie's research on efficacy. The number one indicator for student achievement is staff having the self-efficacy feeling that they're responsible for student scores, that they actually do have an impact, that they're very important. And I think the round staff is there. And then I want to talk about district support a little bit, because honestly, we can't do the job if the kids don't come on the bus and they're not fed. And I want to thank central office for providing us with coaches, for supporting us when things get a little gritty. They always have our back and are always trying to let us know it's okay if we made a mistake, right? We're kind of a team effort. So, and of course, we appreciate the school board support too. It's important. We need everybody, right? And grounds and maintenance, I'm sorry, Matt, if I didn't say that, but having a building that's warm and clean is really nice. So, all right, I have a little thing to share with you. This is just a representation of some of our students at Round. I played this video for the staff not too long ago, and we had a big discussion about how that affected them, but also how that they thought about their students in their classroom and how their students would take this information. So I wanted to share it with you. If I can find out how to click on here. I don't think I need that to watch it. Oh, I don't have volume. Wait a minute.
Good one. I wrote the last equation wrong on purpose because I wanted you to learn something important. Now, you all witnessed I wrote the correct equation 9 times, but nobody congratulated me on that, did you? But as soon as I made a mistake, you laughed and criticized me. Why do you think that is?
Maybe it's because you're supposed to be smarter than us?
Yeah, and it's funny.
I may be in a position of authority, but it doesn't make me perfect or smarter than you. I'm a teacher, but I'm also a human being who makes mistakes. The point of this exercise today is to teach a very important lesson. You will soon discover the world is quick to criticize and find fault, and much slower to praise and find the positive. You'll all experience criticism many times in your life. Those who are lucky enough to succeed or become, quote, unquote, successful will likely experience more criticism than the rest, because you'll find the one thing people love more than pointing out another's mistakes is when they can do it to someone who's achieved more than them. However, the person who criticizes others is only revealing the lack within themselves. Those who are happy within themselves need not point out the faults in others. So the 3 things I want you to remember from today's little exercise is, first, try to notice the good in others. If someone makes a mistake, try to let them know in a kind way. Praise more than you blame. The second is when, not if, but when you're criticized, remember the good in you. Remember your great qualities. Remember you're worthy and capable of great things. And finally, remember criticism is something that you can avoid easily by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. So dream big. Get out there, live your life. See how far you can push the limits. Don't fear criticism, but know when it comes, it's the result of your success, not your failures.
So that's what we're trying to do at Round. We're trying to create a place where it's okay to make mistakes. It's important to take risks, and we're going to take care of each other. So I think that's why we've been successful. So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That was great.
Thank you, Mrs. Odom. I just want to say real quick, I talked to you before, I like the stats. I'm glad you presented that. I really like that you concentrate on the growth. And that's really what's really important in education, is not just looking at the ending point, but also at the starting point, and making sure that every student is progressing. So I appreciate that you included that. I know as a board, we've tried to this year make that a bigger push, and it's good to see that you're already working on it and recognizing the importance. So thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, Chuck was asking us to be sure we were thinking about not just percent proficient, but also growth. So I started digging, and it was kind of fun to find out. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dottie, thank you, and thank you for always having a smile on your face. Even when things aren't going well, we're able to work through it because we take the high approach on everything, so thank you. Bye, Misty, have a good night. Thank you for supporting Dottie. All right, so we also have the fall highlights for athletics, and Brian's here tonight to give us that. We do this 3 times a year, so it won't be long, we'll be doing winter, right, Brian?
It won't be long.
Goes by fast.
He closed you out, so here you go.
How am I doing with the lights, Renee? Am I good?
Good evening, everyone. Hartland Athletics Fall Report. We do have one sport that's still going. Swim is going to be competing this Thursday, Friday in their state finals, but that will be the last sport competing. Varsity programs, we have 12. Middle school programs, 3. Total teams, 24. That has not changed. The high school programs, though, we had 429 participants this year. That was an increase from last year. Middle school programs, 84 participants. That was an increase from last year as well. Looking at some of the numbers, you can see that football had a big jump. Girls golf went up. Most of the other sports stayed in the same range. Pom went down a little bit. Boys soccer had a big jump. We were able to have a JVB team, a freshman team this year, similar to which we had 2 years ago. Big thank you, I think, to the youth programs around here are really building up soccer and really getting those kids involved. So it's been great to see those numbers growing. And it was kind of a last minute thing, but we were able to get coaching staff in place and get those kids games and get them opportunities to play. The big thing I always like to push, excellence in the classroom. This was actually, looking at the numbers this year, I'm super proud of this. Hartland Scholar Athlete Award winners, which is 3.0 GPA or higher for basically sophomores, juniors and seniors, regardless of the team you're on, was 86%. That's above we were in the 78% range last year, so it was a jump above that 80% mark. KLAA Scholar Athlete Award winners was 3.25 GPA or higher, which is 81%, which was also, I think, mid-70s last year. So it's, again, a testament to our student athletes. It's a testament to our coaches that are really pushing the student athlete side of it. I know I was meeting with the football coach recently and going over, they had their banquet coming up, and he was kind of surprised at all the KLA awards that he was giving to the number of teams, and I was able to bring up the stat and say, no, that's about right. That's right where you should be. We recently had our fall signing day. We had 8 members of the class of 2025 have signed their NLI to play athletics at the collegiate level. We'll have a spring signing day coming up in probably the first week of March for the remaining student athletes. I'm going to read off some of the athletes and their accomplishments. Cole Tardiff will be going to Albion College for lacrosse. Clayton Penzine, Palm Beach Atlantic for lacrosse. Reese Dunny, Wayne State University for softball. Matthew Burris, Defiance College for soccer. Eva Larson, Northern Michigan University for soccer. Paige Sunman, Northern Michigan University for soccer. Dallas Korponic, Central Michigan University for wrestling. And Bodie Abbey, going right down the road here, to University of Michigan for wrestling. Another one of the great programs that we have here is Unified Soccer. Head coach Lauren DePestel, assisted by Taylor Wagner. They had 2 home games on the Ox Field and main field under the lights. I remember we were playing a field hockey game one of the nights that they were at the main field, and I could hear Mr. Trammell and his voice booming across, and it was just to hear that excitement from Mr. Trammell in the game kind of drowned out the field hockey game a little bit. Kind of make me want to go over there and see it while we're in the middle of that. They had their unified tournament in Brighton. Special education athletes receive Hartland varsity letters. Their partners receive a special unified patches for their varsity jacket. I have to say, I think the unified program is a unifying force in the school. You get to see it. We get this when we get down a chance to get down to lunch, and you just see the students working together, hanging together, being able to talk about sports. And I think there's just an opportunity that allows everybody to connect in our schools. I'm very grateful that we have it here. Student achievement, student success for the fall of 2025. Girls swim and dive, like I said, is still competing. We have 2 swimmers and 1 relay team that's qualified for the MHSA state finals, which is at Oakland University this Thursday and Friday. Girls golf, we hosted the regionals at Dunham Hills. It was a great, we actually had a rain out, so we had to move it a day, but we were able to have some great golf there. Thankful to them for being a partner in the community. Peyton Rohrhoff qualified for the state finals and was just named Livingston County Golfer of the Year. Some of those Livingston County teams will be coming out soon, but that was the first one. Field hockey completed their first season as an MHSA sport and hosted a state playoff game. Boys soccer had the most wins, 19 in a season. They had their first district title since 2016, and they were the KLAA West Division champions. Cross country had a great season. Girls team qualified for the state finals as back-to-back. First top 10 finish in Division I. They were 9th overall. Eliana Newer, who ran the fastest time for a senior in school history, finished 22nd overall and earned All-State honors. She is just one of 7 girls to ever be All-State for Hartland. Middle school cross country, the girls cross country team were the KLMSL League champions for the 4th year in a row. Football made the playoffs for the first time since 2022. The events that we had included the Gold Out fireworks, band, cheer, football, and pom. We were able to meet with our honorary captains. I think that is one of our keystone events that we hold, and I'll speak about that a little bit later. We had a flyover that night as well. High night, including performances by pom and cheer. Choice 1 athletes, that used to be State Bank, it's now Choice 1. We had 17 athletes recognized for their performances this fall. Student leadership, the football camp, football team went to Fort Custer this summer. It was a great chance for our student athletes there to not only get better at football, but also to learn about leadership. We had our Eagles Reader Assembly and the Captain's Leadership Meeting that we do each season. Chasing titles, here's a picture of our girls cross-country team at regionals where they finished 2nd, 7 points out of winning the regional championship. Boys soccer, district winning their first district title since 2016. On our home field, we were able to host that event. Football team, this is after their win at Dearborn that got us into the playoffs. Here's the Eagles Reader Assembly. It's always a fun event to go over there. Mr. Reck does a phenomenal job with that, and it's always good to have the students coming over there, making sure they're prepared and know when they're asked what book is their favorite book. Here's some pictures from the fall of 2025. Speaking of, upper left is our captains, our honorary captains at the Gold Out game. We have Ernie Sweet in here as our honorary captain at the homecoming. It had been 70 years since he had been on a Hartland field, football field. He was a starting quarterback from 53 to 55. Married his high school sweetheart and has sent 17 kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids through Hartland schools. Bottom left, our band, one of the best entrances, I think, in the state of Michigan when they come across that bridge. Pom, cheer, I think the beautiful part about fall is that, again, we talk about sports, but there's such a component of the band, of the pom and the cheer that goes into these events that really makes it a community event. Here's a picture of the flyover that we had. And just to roll the credits, fall 2025, obviously, Mary Jo Ferris is the new assistant AD at the middle school. She's done a great job there, along with her other roles. Obviously, my assistant, Jennifer Sogg. Going down the list, just a great team. I specifically want to speak to custodial, facilities, and transportation. You speak about making the playoffs, and it's great, and all that goes into it, and then it comes that you got to get the band there, you got to get the team there, you got to get cheer there. They were able to get 7 buses for football, cheer, and band to get everybody there, and for our band to perform at halftime. And like I said, cheer, and then everything they do to get the facilities ready. I have to give them major props. Special shout out to Danielle Custodio and the Gold Out Committee for what they did at the Gold Out and how they're reaching the hearts of kids through that. Michelle Pollock, her son Grant, and Ben Clay for the idea and all their efforts on the flyover. Ben Clay was actually one of our students who was up in the planes during the flyover. That's it.
Just to kind of echo what you were saying, I had the pleasure of going to both the JV and varsity football banquets. It's a lot of hours in banquets, but it was great. But I was really taken by how many of the Scholar Athlete Awards that they announced for all of those athletes. There were so many. It was such a high percentage of all those kids. It was surprising, I guess, in some respects. I wasn't expecting that high of a percentage, but it was actually really cool to see.
And I know I just heard this, but one of the speeches that was going was one of the students who ended up winning, they gave a top scholar award. And he was a kid that he basically talked about 2 of our other student athletes that on the team, so that were pushing him because of their high GPA. Not just the efforts on the football field, but the efforts in the classroom. And those teammates, they were teammates on the football field, but they were teammates in the classroom to make themselves better.
Brian, I want to thank you. Is it your 3rd year with us?
3rd year.
3rd year, and you've really taken your leadership to the next level. I mean, you had to get used to us. You had to come in. It's always hard to have someone come in from outside and say, okay, what's this culture like? And you've listened really well. You've listened to anything that I've shared with you, or I know that I've shared with James and he's shared with you and other people and the survey data. And I just see the growth that you've made, and I really appreciate it. I get a lot of compliments from people that you're there and you're supportive, and I appreciate that from you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And on that note, I just wanted to say thank you. You're very visible. You're everywhere. I don't know how you make it to all the different events, but you run between and somehow make it work. So thank you. The kids notice, parents notice, and you're appreciated.
I always joked when I interviewed, I said it's not a day unless it's a 12-hour day, so. Thank you, guys.
So ends the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hughes. Renee, thank you so much. All right, so for a call to the public. As always, speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Each speaker may be limited to about 3 minutes. At about 2.5 minutes, I'll hold up the yellow folder to let you know it's time to wrap up. First up, we have Melissa Wade.
Good evening. I would like to talk about Village Elementary and my experience there. I would first like to say the majority of the teachers that are there are for the kids. With that said, not everybody in the building puts the kids first. The principal is this dishonest coward that takes fundraisers from children's programs for the benefit of the Hartland Consolidated Schools. In the last few years alone, Village has given over $120,000 to the Hartland Consolidated Schools and has nothing to show for it. Until last year when the PTO demanded a new playground piece for the kids and the parents from the money given over to Hartland Consolidated Schools. Where has all the rest of the money gone? Seems to be a mystery. He favors certain teachers and certain children, but not all. I have seen things with my own 2 eyes and how he has treated students, and I walked away questioning if that's the right protocol. I have personally fed over 6,000 snacks to students last year alone, and he did not contribute one snack or $1 to helping out his own kids. That alone says a lot about his character. For years, I asked why we couldn't go on field trips when the other elementary schools could. He said he was scared to allow the kids to go on them. The kids at Village don't get the same opportunities as the rest of the kids in the district because of him. He definitely runs like a prison over there. There's barely laughter and joy. It's sad. Parents aren't allowed to help or be a part of the kids' learning except a small group of parents who are selected. A few years back, I was reading with the pre-K, and I was in the lunchroom, and a teacher came in and locked every door from the inside out and the outside in. The only way to get out was to knock on the teacher's door so they could unlock the doors to the main building. I questioned this because it was a safety situation if there was a fire or an active shooter. I got the runaround from him after 2 meetings, so I went to the fire department and explained to them what was going on at Village, and they went over and made them unlock the doors because it was a code violation. My one son got choked out in class last year during his indoor recess. When he called me to talk to me about it, I asked him who was supervising the children, and he said there was only one person supervising all 4 classrooms, and no one was supervising his classroom at the time. So as the principal, you have one person supervising a bunch of 5- and 6-year-olds with scissors and tools so they could hurt each other in the classroom. I recently moved my child to another school in the district because he was getting targeted by him. And let me tell you, the grass is definitely greener on the other side. The principal at the new school is phenomenal and greets her kids and parents with smiles and kindness. The principal at Village is never out there to greet the kids and the parents, not even one day a week. I was asked by a few parents if I was running from Village. Then I said, hell yeah, I am. I don't want my kid to be led by a principal like that at all. I want my kid to be led by a principal with integrity. I wish I would have moved my other child knowing what I know now. Parents at Village, please wake up and start asking questions. Over the summer, a teacher reached out to me from Village and asked me for prescription drugs. Or prescription pills, and asked me, prescription pills, excuse me, so she could be a quote-unquote nicer mom. Fun fact about me, I don't even take Tylenol, so I was extremely appalled and felt it was a setup and can't believe that you have a teacher over at that school that might have a drug problem teaching children. Village needs a better leader and a better principal, plain and simple.
Wade, you'll need to wrap it up.
Not a problem. I would like to end this with a positive shout out to one of many great teachers at Village Elementary. Miss Janice was my kid's 3rd grade teacher, and she was phenomenal. She was out there for the kids, not just for herself. She's definitely somebody to keep, unlike the principal that was there, or that is there, excuse me. Thank you.
Next up is Michelle Walker-Schaefer.
So I've been dealing with a bus stop issue since the first day of school. I've got on the same bus, sorry. I've gotten on the same bus for 14 years. And now the schools are telling me it's an oversight that they've given me this bus stop for 14 years. But I would like to point out that my bus stop has been a bus stop since the 90s, when both the Hardy kids rode in the 90s. Then the DeYoung kids, which are also the children of the Hardys, were 2015, 2016, and 2018. So in-school district, in-district students, out-of-district home. 2018 to 2020, my son, out of district by 4 driveways, has been riding this bus. From 2020 to 2024, my 6th grader has been riding this bus, same stop. So basically from the 90s until this year, we have had the bus stop. So now, I go to the school, I go to the transportation, Sue, the transportation supervisor, Matt Martino, and Chuck Hughes, dating, I have the dates and the emails of each one of them telling me that the house is out of district. But then when I have a meeting with Chuck Hughes, my husband and I, Chuck puts the map down, and I also have that, which I wished I would have known this. I would have gave you guys all the maps so you could see. It shows the house is in district. But my bus stop has now been removed. And all I'm asking is that I can somehow get my bus stop back, because the house next door is also in district, and we have a middle school bus picking the girl up The girl's getting picked up here at the corner, which is 4 driveways from me, but she's in middle school. So my son's still in 6th grade. So next year, he's going to have that bus stop back. So I'm just asking for the remainder of the school year that I asked to accommodate that. Chuck Hughes said if the bus stop hits that corner, which they have for 14 years, because they had to pick me up, he would accommodate it. But somehow they rerouted the entire bus to go somewhere else. But I did notice that there is one bus that comes to Mack and Fawcett, which is half a mile. They gave it to me instead of the stop, my original stop. It's at Gangler. So when I pointed out to them, because then they started telling me that there was no in-district student at our original stop, which there never has been since the 2000 whatever. They told me there was no in-district at that stop. So on 9/26, I sent an email stating that the stop that they have accommodated us with this year also has no Hartland district in-district student there. So they eliminated that stop too. So they keep pushing me out further and further. And I would just like to request that I can have the original stop of this school year given back to me as the bus passes it and turns left on Mack. It would not cost any extra time other than opening the door and shutting the door. That's all it would cost them. And they were doing it already this whole school year. So that's where I'm asking if there's anyone that can help me with that, because I don't know how much further up to go than Chuck, and he's not been able to accommodate it. And I've been in the district I'm 50 years old. This is my last kid out of 4 going through the district, not including my family, my grandma, my mom, everybody that's worked here and gone here. We've got probably 4 generations of kids through Hartland. I got 1 kid left.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, those were all the cards we have for call to the public. Next up is committee and building reports. Mr. Gogoleski.
Thank you. Yeah, lots of events going on over at Farms. For one, Sensei Sam, if everyone knows who Sensei Sam is, he started collaborating with our staff and students, starting with sessions on the school environment and culture in keeping with the motto, performance happens with culture, results come from systems. And I'm very happy to hear kids receiving that message, because there's a lot of adults that should hear that too. 5th grade students participated in a presentation on OK to Say, learning about internet safety. Students will be participating in a turkey trot, running a course around the perimeter of the school on Tuesday, November 25th. Big thanks out to the PTO for snacks and water. Students also recently participated in the final incentive from the Color Blast fundraiser. This entailed inviting a friend and taking a limo to and from school to Culver's for lunch. And I was not invited. About 76 students got to participate. Farms will be having a cereal drive from December 1st through the 9th. For Adopt a Family, they'll also be having 2 hat days on 11/21 and 12/10, and all proceeds go toward Adopt a Family. And Crystal Brisky reminded me to remind everyone, to all parents, to complete the Farms Parent Perception Survey that is open until November 25th at 3 p.m. So you still have some time for that. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Yep, Creekside Elementary, I was able to speak with Principal Gunn. Appreciate her time. She reported, much like at least Village Elementary, I'm aware from my own elementary age student, they wrapped up a successful book fair. Staff is shopping now for their classrooms with gift certificates. Their fun run, so a little bit back, but I missed the last meeting, but to report on that. Fun run was a success. Purchases currently being made with money made from that. It was nearly $39,000 was made, so very impressive and generous. Currently, much like at farms, students can bring in gift items to be provided to those in need during the holiday season. They're also offering fundraising events to support programs in place. And as we get into the holiday season, Santa Shop, ran by their PTO, starts the second week of December. And finally, for curriculum, staff and students are working together with data in mind to keep students moving in a positive direction. So much like at Round and pointed out by you, Mr. Scott, they're focused on that data so they can have continued growth and they have that starting point. So they're keeping that in mind as the kids move forward. So it's great things going on at Creekside.
Thank you. Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you. Round is my building, so I don't really want to top anything that Ms. Haddam said, so we can keep all of that amazing data at the top of our minds. I was there last week for my visit, and one of the things that always takes me back when I walk into an elementary school is how willing people, I should say students, are willing to hug. It's just the cutest thing, right? Like, they don't know me, and they just come and they just hug. You know, it's just that, them just being so little and sweet. But I know, you know, the different, what we're doing in our elementary schools translates into what our kids are doing in middle school and high school and beyond. So it is just amazing and so impressive about how all of these pieces come together and, you know, what Ms. Haddam and her team have been able to accomplish at Round. I'm so happy that she presented all of that data. You know, I think it's important for everyone to know all of that hard work that goes in and what the results are. And it's, you know, it's much appreciated. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
All right, thank you. And I guess as Vice President Shaw mentioned, yeah, I think I had a lot of friends as well because I got greeted with lots of hugs from the folks at Lakes. So very fun experience. I got to see a lot of the kids putting together their holiday turkeys in preparation for Thanksgiving. Luckily, nobody glued one to me, but that would have been very cool. Take one home with me. I would say the highlight for me was probably the highly capable students. They were making canoes out of zucchinis and toothpicks. So we're kind of seeing who could carry the most weight in their zucchinis. So that was very cool to see that. Again, you know, kind of in the spirit of growing, I think pushing our kids to do the best they possibly can with little things like that was very cool to see. I also have community ed, and every time I meet with Miss Hayes, there's always so much more that I learn about all the great things that we do in community ed that literally goes on inside this building that we're in today. So I hope at some point we'll have an opportunity to have her come in, and I think she may have done it in the past, but I think it's something that bears repeating, you know, all the different things like senior center and gymnastics, there's dance, there's a mineral and gem club, there's Sensei Sam, I think, has some stuff going on in there, catering, there's all kinds of things that I know I'm forgetting probably half of them, but there's just a lot that it has to offer, and I want to thank Ms. Hayes always for her being so gracious with her time and for everyone that is involved with supporting that. It's much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scott?
Yeah, so before I get to Oar Creek, I also had a chance to visit Round last week, and many people have heard me sing the praises of the Watchdog program, and it was actually my first time being a watchdog last week at Round, and it just happened to be on Veterans Day. I didn't plan it that way. It's just I saw a friend was signed up, so I signed up, and it was such a cool experience. That school dedicated the day to recognizing the veterans within the school and saluting veterans in the community around the state, around the country. And every one of those kids left that day with a sense of civic responsibility and patriotism. And it was one of the most uplifting days I've spent in the schools. And Round has veterans that work in the office, veterans in the classroom, veterans on security staff, and on the playground and cafeteria. One class They must have prepared it previously, but they made these big banners to present all the veterans in the school. Another class I was in, they were doing an art project, kind of art ELA combo, making banners to salute veterans. And in every class I stepped in, they were talking about it, they were learning about it, they were living it, and just a really uplifting experience. So kudos to everybody at Round who made that a really great learning experience, and most importantly, honored the veterans that work within our school district. At Oar Creek, we also have some veterans on staff, and I want to recognize Mr. Zaff and Mr. Funston. Other happenings at Oar Creek over the last month, the Quiz Bowl team had their first high school meet against Howell. They won one match and came close in a couple others. The 7th grade STEM students, I would say, are learning to code, but if any of you have kids from like kindergarten on, they're learning to code when they're much younger than 7th grade. By 7th grade, they're actually doing a BattleBot challenge at Oar Creek, which the kids really loved. The student council did a food drive. They got over 1,000 items for Gleaners. Shout out to the first place team, which was Mr. Jarvin's class. Miss Wilson's class got 2nd place, and Mrs. C's class got 3rd place. But again, over 1,000 items collected for Gleaners. And 7th and 8th grade boys basketball team their season is underway, and I want to give a shout out to the November students of the month at Oar Creek, which is 7th grader Jenna Haar and 8th grader Ava Kraling. So congratulations to those students for being student of the month.
Awesome, thank you. Ms. Custodio.
All right, so over at Village, they also just completed a successful book fair and did the troop donations where they collected things for active duty and they turned it into the Brighton VFW Hall. Also wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Youngs and the students that do the hedgehog highlights. I don't know if any of you guys have seen those. They are phenomenal. It's quite impressive to see how young they can learn those skills, but I guess it goes to what you say, by 7th grade they're coding. So definite hats off to Mrs. Youngs and her students.
Thank you. I had prepared some awesome notes based on some information that I got from Mr. Fitzgerald and Mr. Wheeler, and proceeded to leave them at home. So I've tried to reenact some of that here. But as you know, I'm assigned to the high school and also to Legacy and HVA. I'll start with Legacy. I met with Ms. Conley a week or two ago, and we talked a lot about they have a thing they put on the wall just around the corner here in the building. It's a tree, and they ask people to leave a message of thanks. So they have leaves that you can write a message of thanks, a message of gratitude, and share it on the wall. The students put this up every year. It's a great program. So if you're interested, come here to the central office and check that out. And then also next week, I'm looking forward to, every year, looking forward to the annual Thanksgiving lunch that the Legacy students put on. A lot of the food is actually prepared by the students, or the students assist with that, and then we get to enjoy it with them. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you for including us in that. We also talked a little bit about CTE while we were together, and I continued that conversation with Mr. Fitzgerald and Mr. Wheeler over at the high school. I had a whole lot of data, and I think there's going to be some data that will come out soon in an issue of Community Life, but there are about 1,200 students who will be taking CTE courses in Hartland this year alone, 1,200 kids. There are 36 CTE courses offered in Hartland in our building, and those are available both to Legacy and main campus high school students. There are students from 3 different schools that come to Hartland for the cybersecurity program that we host as part of the countywide Share Time program. And also there are a number of students, I want to say there's around 20. Again, I left the info at home. There's about 20 students right now currently taking some of those share time classes at other locations in the county, and participating in a wide variety of things, including, like what Mr. Hassler was talking about earlier, the pilot program, the aviation program that they have. I think that's through Howell. So there's a ton of different opportunities available. Like I said, 36 different courses available. A lot of opportunity in the district and within the county. I also was struck by, when I went on a tour of all the CTE classes, I was struck by, we went into the classroom where the fashion students, like the design students, have their sewing machines, and there's a number of sewing stations set up around the room, and there were some what looked to be custom made, still rough. They weren't quite complete, but wooden benches that were set up at each of the stations, and they were made by our woodworking students. So it's like they're not just learning the skills in class, but now they're actually being able to put it to use and helping out another part of the school. Another example that I heard about that may happen is our fine arts department is going to be sponsoring a fundraiser. It was supposed to be in the fall. It'll be in the spring, and they're going to be seeking out marketing help from the marketing students. So it's just another way to put these skills to use as they would in a career in those fields. So it's actually, I thought it was super cool to see that in action in the schools. And then lastly, I sit on the Senior Center Advisory Committee, and they've had a ton of successful events, including their fall show that brought in about $6,000. Obviously, most of what they operate on are fundraisers and grants. So those fundraisers are super important. They also had a class with Sensei Sam. It was a self-defense class for the center members, which I think is great. They've got a turkey dinner coming up next week with entertainment provided by Mary Jo Bell, who is a local Hartland person. She's very involved with Hartland players and has an amazing voice. I've heard her sing a number of times. So if you can make it to that dinner, you should check it out. And then also, in the village on, I think it's the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know the date off the top of my head. I think it's the 29th. There's an event going on in town in Hartland called Vintage Christmas, and the Senior Center will be doing working a cookie decorating station, I think at the Hartland Methodist Church, or United Methodist Church there right in town during that event. So if you got some kids that want to decorate some cookies, you should take them there. I think that's all that I have. Thank you. All right, moving on. So our new item 2A, I'm going to read the title so we have it appropriately. It is the State School Aid Act, Section 31AA Funding Resolution. Before we move to opening that for discussion, and we will likely invite our representative from Troon here to join us. I feel that I would like to have a motion read so we can all agree or at least vote on the notion of waiving privilege to have this discussion. Because it's our attorney that's here, because there has been communication provided and information provided from the attorney on this. If we're going to be having this discussion at the table in open session, I would like to put it out there that we will be waiving privilege to carry on this discussion. If there's no opposition to that, I'd like to ask Vice President Shaw to read the motion.
I move that the Board of Education waive attorney-client privilege as to the issue of opting into 31AA funding.
All right. Motion from Mrs. Shaw, moving to waive attorney-client privilege to discuss 31AA funding, opt-in or opt-out.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. Motion carries. So now that we have that, if someone would like to read the motion for item 2A.
I move that the Board of Education adopts the opt-in and waiver resolution as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Is there any discussion on the motion? I actually have a couple of questions that if I could please ask Ms. Dooley to join us.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Hughes, Madam President.
Thank you for joining us. I'm searching, of course, for my notes, which may be at home with my other notes. But I guess I'll start with the question I can think of off the top of my head. We know that, at least it's my understanding, that some of the language in 31AA is somewhat vague. And there's a lot of concern, a lot of discussion around the whole state about this. Could you explain for us or describe what you understand to be the definition of a mass casualty event? For a little bit of context, well, you know what? I'm going to let you describe perhaps the context because you can probably do it more accurately than me.
Okay, thank you. I will give it a try. So the vagueness is one of the problems with the statute. Vagueness is one of the challenges that has been made by the roughly 35 school districts, ISDs, and locals who have filed a lawsuit against the state based on this. And it really, I mean, there's a lot of vagueness, there always is, but mass casualty event is defined, but it's defined, I think, in a way that I'm not sure the legislature intended. I'm going to read for you essentially how it's defined. Significant, it's an event that occurs on school grounds or at school activities that result in significant injuries to not fewer than 3 individuals or fatalities, or a demand that exceeds normal local emergency response capacity, or a sudden and timely surge of emergency service needs. Now, one of the problems is that we believe, at least, that mass casualty event was meant to look at something like a school shooting, something horrific like what happened at Oxford. But in fact, if the golf team has an accident on the way back from a golf tournament and there are, 3 significant injuries as a result of that, that's a mass casualty event. Now, again, is that what the legislature intended? Probably not. But in a lawsuit brought against the district, certainly the language of the waivers related to attorney-client privilege and investigation are going to be triggered. So that's one of the biggest concerns, is the really breadth of things that could happen that would qualify as a mass casualty event that are nothing like the school shooting, I think, that was envisioned as being addressed.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess just to clarify, so that is a mass casualty event is what would trigger the waiver, which would be a district waiving their attorney-client privilege rights in the event of this capacity. So if one of these events happens and our district has opted in, and let's say it is a sports team that's in an accident, has nothing to do with an Oxford-like situation, the waiver would then be triggered so that we would lose attorney-client privilege rights if an investigation were to ensue by someone appointed by the state to look into the incident.
Correct.
Okay.
That, as we believe, that is how it would be interpreted, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if there's any determination or has there been any discussion, and I have not read the details of the active suit that's just been filed. Has there been any reference made about like district insurance coverage? In the case of litigation, we use SETSEG as our insurance carrier. Would there be, or do you know if there's any indication that coverage would change because that waiver has been triggered or because we have opted in? to waive those rights?
It's an excellent, excellent question. And SETSEG is saying they do not believe there would be any change in coverage. And that is wonderful. But I will tell you that insurance law is its own beast. I don't do it. I don't want to do it. But I have had friends and colleagues who do it. And they bring in whole separate law firms to analyze policies and events, and then essentially they defend you under a reservation of rights. And that reservation of rights essentially means we think we might defend you. We're going to go ahead and pay the bills for now, but we might change our minds depending on what happens. And right now, I think that nobody intends to take away insurance coverage because of opting into these funds. But if we get into a situation where we're looking at multiple plaintiffs, multiple actions, multiple liabilities, I can't say whether that would hold.
Okay, thank you. There's also been a lot of information about cautioning against the additional risk that would be open regarding personal liability or civil suit. Can you speak to any of that?
Sure. The issue becomes the privilege is with the district's attorneys, with the board's attorneys, really, and not just attorneys. I would like to point out, remember, it's also an investigator-client privilege that would be waived. So it is not unusual to bring in an outside investigator to do a very thorough, deep dive into what happened, how things could be changed. All of that information would lose its what is now a currently identified and recognized legal privilege. So all of that would also be available to a state investigator, and more importantly, perhaps to the attorneys of any plaintiffs who were suing. And so personal liability in and of itself, this statute doesn't change the ways in which a board member or a school staff member may find themselves liable. Okay, so you have some governmental immunity, you have some other things. If you act grossly negligent, you're not probably going to have immunity. But what it does is it opens up all the documentation that exists in the world that will allow for picking through, teasing through, and so we anticipate that there may be suits brought and additional liabilities found based on all of that information now being essentially out in the public domain.
Do you see that as some of the vagueness too that's going to be challenged as far as the scope of attorney-client privilege information that will have to be divulged as far as how far back an investigator can go, and also the material, if it's just discussion or written guidance or what, is that also incredibly vague and far sweeping?
Yes, that is another component of vagueness, is that the words waiving privilege or waiving these specific privileges, we don't really know what that means. And so we have to assume it means there's no temporal limits to it. Perhaps, and I will say that if there is an opportunity to influence any changes in the legislation, then yes, that is absolutely one of the things that we would like to see made less vague, so that we understand what is really being waived and for what period of time. And so I will say the lawsuit that was filed, and they are seeking a preliminary injunction, there should be a hearing this week, perhaps early next week. Now, when I checked the docket last night, there was no hearing. Obviously, last night was a Sunday night, but I didn't check it again today, so I don't know if something's been scheduled. But the main arguments that are being made in that lawsuit are the unconstitutionally vague component, so that's a variety of the terms, including mass casualty, including what do we mean by waiver, imposing an unconstitutional requirement on receipt of federal funding. What that means essentially is forcing someone to give up a legal right in order to get public funding. So we'll see, where they go with that. The next one is conditions of receipt of 31AA funding on the surrender of Fifth Amendment rights. So, potentially there would be criminal liability that would be involved in any mass casualty event. And we are, not supposed to have to waive our rights. But there's going to be, I think, a lot of litigation around whether the district waiving its rights also waives individual staff members' rights. So again, I don't want to ever see that play out, and I'm not sure how it would play out. But what this lawsuit is saying is that is sort of a preemptive waiver of your constitutional rights. Whether it violates the Michigan Constitution's title object clause, that is not an uncommon claim when challenging legislation, but that is, is this statute and everything built into it really reflective of what the title literally of it is? It's the funding. So here we're talking about, I think nobody can deny, an amazing amount of funding for a set of amazing things, right? We would love more social workers, more programs, more everything. But being able to do that work to waiver of all these rights and to an investigation and to essentially becoming the only party in a potential lawsuit someday that really doesn't have a lawyer. Because if you don't have attorney-client privilege, you really don't have, in many ways, you don't have a lawyer. Does the intent of the statute, what is being required to get those monies? And then finally, there's an argument that it violates the separation of powers. So that's what they're arguing. I think that there will be, there's going to be there will be amicus briefs on this. So there will be other people probably introducing other kinds of arguments. And it all is going to have to get wrapped up very quickly on the preliminary injunction phase. So we'll see.
Quick question. Regarding the waiver of rights for money, wasn't there just a recent case nationally, and this is where I'm relying on your legal expertise, wasn't there some sort of precedent set to where that could not be part of the terms and conditions for receiving federal funds?
I'm not sure what case you're referring to, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There are so many cases out there. And
I wanted to narrow it down for you, but I couldn't. And AI was no friend to me this afternoon, so
sometimes it's
sorry.
So I can't point to a case that I know of specifically. However, I guess the question would be, if such a case exists, is it within our jurisdiction? How high up the food chain does it go? And ultimately, I mean, there will be an opportunity for Michigan court to say pretty much that you can't condition these monies on that kind of a waiver. We'll see if they do or not. So they'll be looking to Sixth Circuit precedent, public policy, things like that. So, I mean, and there's another option here that since the lawsuit was filed has emerged that didn't really exist before that, or maybe wasn't sort of worth talking about, and that is the possibility of deciding as a board not to accept money under 31AA as it currently exists, but to empower someone, the superintendent, some designee, to opt in if between, I mean, we've got a very short period of time here, between now and midnight or 11:59 on November 30th, we get a court order that changes the way this will be implemented, or even, changes the way it's written, although we all know that's probably less likely. There's an effort to try to amend it, but that'll take a little while. So that is another option, would be to resolve not to take it the way it's written now, but to empower someone without having to bring back together a board to say, yes, if they deal with some of these problems related to waiver and definition, then we will gladly take that money. So that's another option that's out there. And it's also possible. The other problem, what we don't know is, will a court issue, if they issue a preliminary injunction as requested by these 35 districts, will they issue it broadly? Will they issue it limited to those 35 districts? We don't know until recently. I would have said they'll almost certainly issue it broadly. There has been some Supreme Court action on whether or not injunctions should be issued broadly, but I suspect it will impact all of us, and I suspect it will impact for sure what MDE decides to do with opt-in deadlines and things like that. So, sorry I couldn't specifically answer your question, but now I'm going to have to go home and find such case. Yeah, absolutely.
So with this primary injunction, do you think that the deadline may be extended, or do you think they'll, MDE with the holiday coming, will keep it as is and go from there?
I think that, well, I don't know, but I think MDE will likely keep it as is, absent an order from the court.
Yes, please.
I want to make sure I get permission. So I think it's important too for our audience and our staff to understand what you just talked about, right? And that is that the board, in its capacity as a Board of Education, is making a decision tonight on whether or not to accept $31A at about $700,000, $750,000 to the district. And with that is, if there is an event, the staff as well as the board will lose attorney-client privilege based on what has been presented, which is a constitutional right in the state of Michigan to have attorney-client privilege, and giving up that right to all staff members and everybody involved that if there is a mass casualty. Now, still, what I understand, still retaining the idea that we have some limited governmental immunity, as long as we're demonstrating during that time frame that we did everything we were supposed to do to the best of our ability. And as we all know, that if we do the best we can and someone files a lawsuit saying, hey, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, we can say, no, we did. You may not like how we responded, but we did respond to the best of our capacity. So, you know, the board is making a pretty big decision tonight that they're saying the money's important, potentially, or the money's not. And if the money's important, we're waiving everybody's right as it exists today to their constitutional right to have attorney-client privilege. And whatever the board decides, we as a school district will accept that decision and move forward to the best of our ability. Is there anything that I just said that would be contradictory?
No, I do want to point out that the attorney-client privilege is a principle embedded in common law. It's embedded in our rules. It's not a constitutional privilege, but the Fifth Amendment is a constitutional right. So just to clarify that, likely what we are projecting would have to happen is every individual, staff, board member, et cetera, in the event of a mass casualty event would very likely need to go out and get their own private attorney, because as of that moment, communications with their private attorney would remain covered by the privilege. Communications that led to decisions that have already happened, obviously you can't unring that bell. That privilege is waived. Moving forward, you know, and that it's a burden. You know, a lot of, if you're individually named in a lawsuit, you'll likely get your own attorney, but if you are a teacher, you're probably waiting and not getting your own attorney. You're relying on district representation until there becomes a reason to believe you're going to get sued in your individual capacity. Probably would not be the safest move for folks to wait, because that there is no privilege, there would be no privilege with any of the board's, the district's attorneys moving forward. The other piece, let me see if I can bring myself back to the other piece I was going to talk about, and I may have lost it. So. H does that too. Any other questions?
I have a question. I know you mentioned if individuals, and this is likely administrators or board members, but could be teachers or staff, they may want to get independent representation after something happens. If someone had representation prior, but it was paying for it with personal dollars, that attorney-client privilege would remain intact, correct?
Yes, to the extent that those conversations, that information exchanged solely between the client and their individual attorney. If the board, say, was discussing, do we or do we not put extra security cameras in X, Y, and Z place? And that's a discussion, and perhaps you go into closed session because you can do that for school safety, and you talk about that. And then a mass casualty event occurs. Those conversations are no longer privileged, right? Those are no longer covered by closed session privilege with your attorneys or amongst yourselves. And so I think if you then go into your lawyer's office and you say, well, at this closed session meeting of the board, this happened, blah, 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 the underlying information is no longer privileged. So telling it to your individual lawyer doesn't sort of reignite the privilege for the underlying information, if that makes sense.
But if you were to do it opposite, where you get your individual lawyer's opinion before you bring it to the board or into closed session, and then decide maybe not to bring it to the board because of a conversation with your personal attorney, that would remain privileged.
Yes, that conversation would remain privileged. If you brought it to the board, then it would waive that privilege.
Does anybody have any other questions that we can direct to Ms. Dooley? Okay, thank you, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion before we move for a vote or move to the vote?
Yeah, there is. I understand the importance of attorney-client privilege, but I want everyone on this board to ask yourself, should a cataclysmic incident happen, something that I hope and pray, we all hope and pray, never happens in this district, could you face a parent that's going to ask you, why did you vote against this money for this situation just to protect attorney-client privilege? I don't know what I would say. I don't know if I'd be able to provide a response to that. And I want you to think about that.
Does anyone else have anything else?
I'll just say real briefly, in a similar vein, as much as anyone sitting at this table wants to protect themselves, the reason we are put here is to protect the students and do what's right for them. I don't believe there's a taxpayer in this district that would stand up and say, don't take the money and keep your privilege. I think every single taxpayer, minus maybe a couple of attorneys, would probably say, do what's right for the kids, protect the kids. And so that's how I intend to vote on this. Could it mean more liability for those of us at the table, of course it could. But I think it's doing what's right for the students of Hartland, and to say, God forbid something does happen, you know, we'll participate with the investigation. We'll get to the bottom of it. And I think it's the right thing to do, given the circumstances. Maybe not ideal, but given the circumstances we're in, the position we're in, I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments on this. I appreciate it. It's, I know I've had conversations, I think, with all of you, at least one or two conversations or more regarding this, because it's not an easy decision. There's a lot more than just, it's not binary, right? It's not just more safety and security for the kids and, you know, less privilege or more transparency for those of us sitting up here at the table. It's not just that simple. There's a lot of things to weigh, and I appreciate Ms. Dooley taking the time to answer the questions, the information that she and those in her office have provided to us, and all the comments and consideration that you guys have given this. Before we move to, or before we proceed with voting, I wanted to offer up a suggestion to, I don't know if you have the resolution in front of you, but the resolution, it should be somewhere in this packet. The resolution, as it states, it says that we're opting in. I mean, it says a lot more than that, but the gist of it is that we're opting in. If we wanted to add some kind of a timeline to say that we're authorizing, I believe it's written so that we're authorizing the superintendent, Mr. Hughes, or his designee to do the actual opt-in, right, to log into the system, check the box. If we can have them wait until the last business day before the deadline, which of course the deadline is Sunday, November 30th, which is Thanksgiving weekend, holiday weekend, perfect planning from the government. Thank you so much. But I think if we add that, or at least have that understanding that we're waiting to see if anything pans out, if there's an injunction, if there's something that comes from this case, if there's a hearing this week, I don't know. I guess I wanted to get some thoughts on that.
So what you're thinking then is by like close of business on the last business day that the district is open in November, which would be Tuesday. So like
that's a place to start the discussion, right? Because that's when we have people in the office. I don't know honestly what the hours are, the holiday hours for the courts, but I imagine they're probably not open on Thanksgiving and not functioning, probably not the day after. So this would at least get us close to where we would anticipate any action happening, to just give us a little more of a buffer in case something were to change.
So you're thinking then adding something that says that the superintendent or his designee would not log into the system, click the buttons for yes, until like no earlier than 3 p.m. on that Tuesday or something, just in the event that something happens in the courts that. But my question is, if we pass a resolution that says, if we do pass the resolution that says we're accepting the funds, and the court comes with an injunction says, you know, we've extended it or it's on pause because we've passed a resolution, do they have to go in and accept it? Does the injunction or whatever the court says, how would we take that into consideration with what we've passed?
I think, if you don't mind.
Please.
I think, yes, if you pass this today, you certainly can direct us to hit the button on the 25th. Once you hit the button, you hit the button, right? That's the way the state grant system works, right? Once you say yes, you're done. You cannot go back and remove your check mark. It's recorded, you're done. If there's an injunction, and that just sits there, and we wait and see what happens, right? And if the courts broadly apply the injunction, then the state has to deal with that. So I think if you say yes today, I think we're going to wait until Tuesday and see what happens, but it doesn't change the fact that you're directing us to check the button. Does that make sense?
So if I read that correctly, then essentially, we passed the motion today with the understanding they're not going to check the button until Tuesday, and theoretically, we could have a special meeting on Monday
If something happens.
or early Tuesday, if something happens, and try to get 4 people in the room to redirect based on any changes. I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
absolutely. I think it's 24-hour notice that we would have to post a special meeting or an emergency meeting. Yep, and as long as we have a quorum, that could absolutely happen.
And I think just after listening to Mrs. Dooley speak, not knowing what could come of this, what changes could be made, that might be the smartest decision so that we're walking into it either way with all of the information presented.
So if someone has the resolution immediately in front of them, we've got it. Well, but should we, I'm sorry, what?
We don't have the resolution.
The resolution. Do we have the resolution?
Yeah, we have,
Yeah.
it's in the end of the packet.
Is it in here?
It's at the end of the packet because it was going to be last.
Yes.
It's on the Thurn paper.
Sorry.
But again, Ms. Coleman, I don't think that we have to add anything to this resolution. This resolution simply says that, bottom line is, you're directing me, the superintendent, to complete any documentation necessary to implement the board's election below. All resolution, part of the resolution conflict. So you're telling me that you want to, if you pass the motion that's on the table as it sits, then you're telling us to fill this out. I mean, obviously, we'll have to get signatures, but we're going to go in and hit the button on the 25th, unless something happens.
Unless we get, something changes and then we have to call a special meeting to
Yep.
do something else, but.
Because remember, the state doesn't care what your resolution says.
Correct.
The state has no, they don't care if your resolution says,
Right.
hey, stop tomorrow. The fact is, we're not going to check the button till the 25th. If something happens over the weekend and we need to call an emergency meeting to say, hey, we have this option, then that's what we'll get with you and say, hey, we need to do something because we have an option.
President Coleman, do we need a vote for that to be able to have that as a consideration? Or how
To call
to,
a special meeting?
or to possibly make the change if, based on the vote?
I think you're gonna mess things up if you do that. You just need to you need to decide, are you gonna take the motion or not? Are you gonna adopt it or not? And then we'll go from there.
And then if there's a change subsequent to tonight's decision, if there's a change in the situation, then we can decide to reconvene, call a special meeting, and either adopt this that hasn't been adopted tonight, or, pass it tonight, or reverse it if we pass it tonight.
I move that the Board of Education adopts the opt-in and waiver resolution as presented.
I had already read it.
Yeah.
Oh, you had?
Yes.
Okay,
And
sorry.
Jeff had seconded it.
Yep.
I
But
missed
thank
it.
you. I appreciate it. I like your enthusiasm.
So we don't want to add a time, like on the 25th?
I don't think so.
I don't think we need to. If Mr. Hughes understands the direction that we want on this, and that's honestly what he was planning to do, I'm okay with not having it spelled out in the resolution, if everybody else.
Yeah, I wasn't proposing it in the resolution, just in the motion itself.
Oh.
Again, I don't think you need to do that.
No, because the motion is simply passing the waiver. It doesn't, or passing the
Waiver as
the
presented.
resolution
Yeah.
as presented. So we're either passing it or we're not passing it, or that we're adopting it or we're not adopting it.
Right.
It's not like we're going to adopt it on the 25th. We have to adopt it so they can check the box on the 25th. So if we were to modify something and add a date to something, it would have to be to the resolution itself.
So just to clarify, if this is passed, when would it be submitted?
25th,
And the day?
Tuesday, yep. Because then the district's closed. So
How long does it take approximately to go through the submission?
Dave is our level 5, so Dave is the one that actually submits all the grants because he's got the level 5 control. I think there's some paperwork you have to fill out, and we can do that in pre-advance, Dave?
Take 3 minutes to submit it.
Okay.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Again, the motion on the table is State School Aid Act, Section 31AA Funding Resolution. Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Hearing no further discussion. Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 2B. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions and your discussion there.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the international trip request as presented.
Second?
All right, motion by Mr. Campbell for international trip request Peru 2027, supported by Ms. Custodio. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I don't know if there's anyone here that can answer it, though. But in some travel I was looking up for work, I came across, just out of the blue, a travel advisory. Now, granted, this has happened in 2027. Right now, there's a level 2 travel advisory for Peru, where they're telling you to take extra caution. There are only 4 levels. We're at 2 already. If, let's say, it goes to level 3 or level 4, is there any way that the people that have spent money on this are going to get that back? Is there any kind of guarantee from the company that set that up?
Mr. Hughes, could someone from your team take that, or you?
I don't know if James knows. If you do, you can step up, James. But I know in my past experience, they encourage them to take the travel insurance in the event that there is a level that comes to the point where they say, you can't go. Because the board might have to say, let's say they're getting ready to go and I find out it's a level 4. I'm going to say to the board, we need to cancel this trip.
Level 4, the state won't allow you to go. But level 3 is pretty intense. Level 3 is like, you can go, but best of luck. And I don't want to see anyone go at a level 3.
There is something in this packet that talks about protection, that it's recommended that people buy it, so your investment is protected. So it is included in this packet that they offer.
And who would make that, thank you, who would make that decision then, that call at the time that we would have this event? Like, it's a week out and.
So the sponsor, Mr. Fitzgerald, and myself would be talking to each other going, oh God, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then we would do what we have to do, so.
Yeah, try to avoid the revolution. Yeah, that'd be good.
Would not be good. All right, so, James, we recommend the travel insurance to cover them in case something happens. We always have. Would you just double check with Amy tomorrow to make sure she's doing that? Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or further discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. This is international trip request to Peru 2027. Motion from Mr. Campbell, supported by Ms. Custodio. Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Item 2C, filter first requirements.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the director of operations, approves the contract award to Service Pro for the Filter First drinking fountain replacements as presented.
Second?
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio. Is there any discussion?
I have a thought. Credit to whoever on the staff is getting these grants. That's great. But there's a $20,000 difference we're approved for for what it costs. Do we keep that money and be able to use that for future maintenance or replace items, or do we just, is it a one-time, we got to return what we don't use?
I remember while Matt's coming up, there might be some contingency problems, like we go to install something and we'll go, oh no, we got to replace this, and we eat up the 20,000 pretty quickly. So, Matt?
Well, the hope is that we're not going to eat it up on that, but there are a few drinking fountains that require some architectural work. There's about 3 of them. One at Creekside and 2 at Lakes. So we're going to work on those. We want to get the bulk of the drinking fountain replacement under our belt and then tackle those 3 items. So the hope is we don't spend it, but the grant can also be used for our first round of filter replacement, which is roughly, you asked the question, at the last meeting, it's roughly $50 per filter, which is about $3,000 or $4,000 for replacement of the entire district's filtration. So we can use the grant funds for that purchase also.
So we get to hold on to that for a period of time and try to use it towards that related?
So most likely till June 30th, 2026, it has to be spent by. And then, which we will do our first round also at that time. And then the state is talking about potential grants for future replacements, but no one has seen what that looks like yet. So covering some of those costs that the districts will have to incur for long-term testing and or annual testing and filtration replacement. So,
kind of going along those lines of what Mr. Campbell brought up, there's no little fine print for you can't prepay or pre-buy certain accessories and things like that. You could use the money in whole, couldn't you?
What do you mean by?
Well, like for example, for if we have a surplus, buying whatever, maybe a critical parts list or other items that we
it
would
does
need.
allow you for that, but it doesn't allow you necessarily to stock up, I guess, for lack of better words.
Yeah,
that
that's
type of thing.
kind of what I'm talking about, yeah.
Kind of in reason. They have allowed for the first round of replacements, but you can't go out and buy 5 years worth of filters, for example, unfortunately.
Well, that answers my question. Thank you.
I had another one too. It's kind of related to, we talked about the replacement of the wall at Lakes Elementary. Just the differences in the quotes. The filter replacement, there's $100,000 difference in the quotes.
Mhm.
And on the next one, it's a $20,000 difference in the quotes between companies to do the work.
Yep, so we did interview the lowest 3 bidders. CSM Mechanical is a very good company. They have not done a ton of replacements of drinking fountains as a large scale. They've just done here and there. When we interviewed Service Pro out of Novi, they've done quite a few districts large scale and got kind of manned up and got in and got out. They were really prepared for the questions and kind of how they were going to tackle the work. We did interview Johnson & Wood, and they've been a company we've used for quite some time, but they put a lot of other costs into the project that we have, we've discussed with the current vendor that we're recommending, and they have said to us that they have included all necessary costs, and we kind of went through the gambit with them, trying to make sure that they did include things. But we felt comfortable talking with the vendor that he did, include what he needed to do the job properly.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Any additional questions for Mr. Marino? Or any further discussion? Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
All right, so the motion on the table, filter first requirements, brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio. Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Motion carries. Moving on to item 2D, field house boiler replacement.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the Director of Operations, approves the field house boiler replacement as presented.
Support.
Is that Mr. Scott? Thank you. All right, so field house boiler replacement, motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Scott. Is there any discussion? questions or discussion?
I think we did have a very good discussion at the last meeting, and thank you to Mr. Marino for going over that thoroughly at the last meeting in advance of the vote. I think it really helps, and I appreciate the opportunity, so.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, field house boiler replacement. Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries. Item 2E, summer tax resolution.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the chief financial officer, adopts the summer tax resolution as presented.
Support.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Campbell, support by Mr. Keller. Summer tax resolution, is there any discussion? Any questions for Rachel? Okay. Hearing none, summer tax resolution brought forward by Mr. Campbell, supported by Mr. Keller. Mr. Gogoleski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Motion carries. Item 2F, new and revised policies.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the assistant superintendent of personnel and student services, adopts the new and revised policies as presented.
Support.
Thank you. New and revised policies, motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Is there any discussion?
I did have some concern about one policy, specifically dealing with curriculum. It's policy 2210. And that, dealing with curriculum, I would like to take this and move it aside until we can get more information about, for those of you kind of keeping aware of the news, about the new guidelines that were put out by the State Board of Education. That has a pretty big effect across the board in a lot of areas. And until we can get more information about that and what has to be placed in curriculum and how it needs to be moved forward, I have been in contact with not only members of the State Board of Ed, but also 4 different representatives. And I'm getting information because there's a lot of gray areas, just like there was with 31AA. A lot of misinformation, a lot of bad information, a lot of I don't knows. And I would like to put that aside until we get the information on those new guidelines, which is going to be an extremely big hot button issue, especially in this district. So I move that we remove 2210 and keep that, or vote on that after our next policy meeting where we can kind of review the information regarding those new guidelines.
Okay, so to clarify then, your motion is to remove policy 2210 from item 2F?
Yes.
And postpone that vote until the next regular meeting after the next policy committee?
Correct.
I would support that.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Scott has supported that motion, and Renee, if need be, we can figure out that wording to make sure we have it. Okay. Okay, so we'll remove, let's see, so we're motioning to postpone the vote on 2210 until the first regular meeting after the next policy committee.
We can just look back at the treasury policy, use the same language.
That's right, we did. When we postponed the treasurer policy, it was the same language. Perfect. Okay, so that is, the motion to amend here is from Mr. Gogoleski, supported by Mr. Scott, postponing the vote on policy 2210 until the first meeting after our next policy committee meeting. Any discussion on that motion to amend?
Will that have any impact on the policies that we are considering rescinding later?
That's an excellent question. I do not know.
I don't believe any of the, no, none of the policies we're rescinding have anything to do with curriculum.
Okay, because those were all
Yeah,
the
I didn't see any, but just wanted to
Thank you
confirm.
for asking. That's a great question. Okay, so it does not affect those that are being rescinded. Any other questions or comments on this motion to amend?
Do we need to vote on the postponement first?
Yeah, that's what I mean, the motion to amend.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, just real quick, I do like the idea of postponing it. One thing in this policy, it says specifically, the board directs the curriculum of the district provides instructional courses required by statute and State Department of Education regulations. And there's more, but I think that may need to be altered based on the actions of the state board last week. So I would hate to approve this tonight and indicate that we somehow are agreeing to what the state board has just done. So I think this is the right thing to do.
Okay, so Mr. Gogoleski, when you and I spoke about this the other day, you said you were collecting some information. So once you have some information that you can share with the rest of us, so we're all kind of similarly informed, that would be much appreciated.
Absolutely. That was my intent.
Perfect.
To make sure that everyone has that and we can discuss it at the next
At the
policy
policy?
meeting. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so motion to amend, removing or postponing the vote for 2210 until later as stated. No further discussion, we'll move to a vote. All right, Mr. Gogoleski,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
No.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a no. Motion carries. Okay, so the current motion on the table then has been amended. So it is regarding the new and revised policies minus policy 2210. Motion made by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Any further discussion on the motion regarding all these other policies?
Yeah, so we had a lot of conversation at our last policy meeting about, bless you, 1422. Specifically, there were some questions surrounding the clear and convincing standard. I want to just kind of confirm a few things. One, and I think I know all the answers to these, but I just want to ask for the record, I guess, does this, and I guess if I made President Coleman may need to direct some of these to Superintendent Hughes. One is, does it apply to students?
Mr. Hughes, I'll defer to you to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Preponderance evidence versus the clear and concise, yes. Preponderance.
Sorry, let me clarify my question, sorry. The policy specifically, 1422, is it applicable to students or staff only?
Well, I believe 1422, if I'm not mistaken, is professional staff. And the students are, if I'm not mistaken, do they fall under 4122? I have to look at that. All three policies apply across the board to all of our units and our students.
Okay. Do you know, did the staff give any of their blessing on this change? I know our admin team has, and thank you for that. But I also wonder if it extended beyond that, since there would be some implications for them.
Not to my knowledge, and I know that the HEA gets the packet ahead of time, and they see the packet, and there was nothing brought to my attention as a concern.
I think the other question was towards the middle. And again, I want to thank you for getting some legal opinion from Troon on some of these. So the section where it talks about parties provide a reasonable and equal opportunity to make a statement.
Can you give us a page number?
I don't know what the page is.
Well, it's in,
the
you
packet,
have
so.
this? You have the
It would be
policies in
somewhere
front of you?
around 13, I would guess, but I guess I do want to say, you know, I appreciate that we're going to keep the notification component in there. I know we originally were removing that, but I do want to acknowledge that that's being kept in there. And I think those were kind of my two points I wanted to just kind of clarify. I guess if this does apply to students, then I think I have concerns still. But if this is the staff only and they're okay with it, then I guess it's a different result for me. So I guess if we can kind of confirm that 1422, 3122, and 4122 all do not apply to students.
Maybe we should have brought it. Professional staff, professional staff, support staff, and 4,100, I believe, is, I thought it was student, yeah. So the bottom line is students, when we talk about, if I'm following you, Greg, Mr. Keller, you're asking about the language about will we present the sanctions that were presented in the end of the investigation and the determination. Is that what you're asking?
I guess I'm just asking if those policies specifically cover the students, or would the handbook only be what governs?
Policy covers the students as well. So the policy will be consistent across the board, staff and students. And so if we are providing sanctions, my concern at the last meeting under 4122 was, what about FERPA? Well, the response from our attorney, as you saw, was that when Title IX takes over, FERPA is out the door. So we would have to provide the sanctions. We would also have to provide the sanctions if a staff member was disciplined to the both parties. So it applies across the board.
Yeah, and so, I mean, again, my preference was, you know, a different course of action when it comes time to which standard we apply. It sounds as though that would be an outlier in the education industry, so I guess I don't know what options we have with that, so I'm kind of confused, and maybe this is a Neola question, why they even sort of highlighted that as an option in the first place if it's really an unprecedented option, and it would make things more muddy from kind of what I understood reading the attorney's information. So I guess kind of the question, if there's not any options, do we know why they even recommend that? And
we don't. I guess some district, remember, they have many, many, many districts, and this is a template. I've shared that with the board many times, and some unknown district might use that, but in Michigan, we tend to use preponderance of evidence, and that is consistent across all of our policies. And as Thrun responded, you don't want to start changing that because preponderance evidence is what you'll see throughout the policies that we have, and we've always used that. And it works, provides the flexibility, and it's, in our opinion, as we told you last time, it's our recommendation preponderance of evidence stays.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
So 4122, since we're dealing with employment, so non-discrimination, equal opportunity employment, and anti-harassment, so is this student employees or all students?
Renee, any chance that you can go into your, into board policy in section 4,000? Remind me where that is. Do you have it available on your computer? No. Go into board policy and it'll say professional, or it'll say the section title. support staff. I'm just looking for the 4,000s. What does it say? I should have brought the books.
Where's it at? 4216? No. No. No, 4,000 is support staff.
All right,
Yeah.
so 4,000 is towards that. That has nothing to do with students. So none of these policies, is that correct, Renee? 4,000 support staff?
3,000 professional staff.
And 1,000 is administrative staff? Correct. So these are all administrative, nothing to do with students?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Is that better for you? All right, see Greg smile. All right, I think we got a yes out of him.
All right, Mr. Scott, so you're good with that follow-up?
Yeah, as long as we're clear that the consequences that the district can dole out do not apply to students. I would not be okay with forced counseling on students regarding some of the
No.
content here.
Right, agreed. Yep. Okay. Any further discussion on that group of 3 policies or any of the others still remaining in this list of new and revised policies? All right, hearing none, we will move on with the vote. Again, this is new and revised policies as amended. Postponing the vote on 2210, but all the other policies that you've got listed here are included in this vote. The motion was brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Mr. Gogolewski,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Custodio,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right. All right, moving on to item 2G, rescinded policies.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the assistant superintendent of personnel and student services, rescinds policies 1422.02, 1322.02, 4122.02, 1662, 3362, 4362, and 7541 as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Campbell, supported by Mrs. Shaw. So just for a little context before we open up for discussion, these rescinded policies, or these policies are being rescinded because of changes made to those that we just approved here in the previous vote. Is there any further discussion or questions on these rescinded policies?
Just to clarify, I think the 142202, the 1662, the 3122, 3362, 412202, and 4362, those are all going to be replaced by 1422. Is that the correct interpretation for that?
Yes.
Yes.
And then 7541 replaces the 7540.02? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Any further questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. Rescinded policies. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries. All right, moving on. Item 2A. Thank you for your patience. High school, 2026-27 high school and legacy HVA curriculum guides.
Right. Actually, I'm going to let Dave talk about this as this is his department. So Dave, talk about it and invite our friends up.
Right, we have James and Nicole are here to answer any questions you have. I think they did an awesome job of putting those packets together for you, really easy to understand. There was kind of minimal changes this year, but they want an opportunity to share what their staffs have been talking about. They reviewed it with me, and I signed off on it. And then we sent you the packets. I sent it a week ago for you guys to take a look at. So they're here to answer your questions if you have any. And as a reminder, we come to you as discussion, and then next meeting, hopefully approval, so we can get those things out for students at the high school and Legacy to start picking their classes starting in February.
I wasn't sure if you guys would have anything to present. I know it would be hard to condense the information into a shorter presentation, but I didn't know if you guys would have any.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for making it easy to, for non-educator curriculum people, very easy to understand and know what's being updated. So thanks for all the work you put into it for us and to make it easy to understand. Thank you.
And thank you for continuing to find new electives to engage kids. I think it's great seeing these. I think a lot of us see the offerings and wish we had those. So thank you for continuing to strive for more.
Yeah, you're welcome. Teachers, my teaching staff has a lot to do with this. And in this guide and these proposed changes, there's not a lot of curriculum change. It's a lot of just aligning things for consistency, course name changes, course description changes, course grade level changes, things like that, simple little changes. A few things I wanted to mention that I'm pretty excited about. We are looking to add a automotive technology honor cord and a construction trades honor cord in our building, which is really cool. We've talked about that for a couple years, got together with Mr. Zielinski, Mr. Trahey, and we're excited about that. Students in those courses that take a sequence of 3 of those courses with a GPA in those courses of a 3.5 or higher and pass their certification test in that course, earn an honor cord as a senior, which is pretty cool. So that's one thing we were excited about with this round of changes.
Nicole, if you can talk real briefly about why you have one this year.
Sure. We were visited by our county representative in this idea that the curriculum guide for Legacy has always just gone along with the high schools. And as she revisits that and checks it with state standards and graduation curriculum, she'd like a standalone document speaking to Legacy specifically. And the goal is not to take away from opportunity, but is saying what then, aside from the opportunities, like Kristen said earlier, our students can participate in many of the classes on main campus, like what Mr. Fitzgerald was just talking about, and taking autos classes to choir, to band, so on and so forth. So what are unique classes available to students only on this campus is why you see those additions here, and that is in addition to, not in lieu of, main campus curriculum.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I think it was great reading through this. Some of the rationales, you're clearly looking at multiple courses and realizing some overlap, so it benefits the kids to combine those and venture out further and keep it updated. How often is this done? It's
every year.
Is it?
Every year, yeah.
It's pages and pages, so people are aware. So a lot of time went into this.
There's a lot of minor changes there with course descriptions and things like that. One thing, shout out to our special education department. They spent a lot of time and effort looking at our curriculum guide special education section and courses compared to the gen ed section and courses, and trying to align those. For example, we're calling our resource life science resource, but on the gen ed side, we call it biology. So aligning those and making those both biology resource and gen ed. So just trying to align those and be more consistent throughout. And again, shout out to our special education team and teachers for putting that effort to align those.
How difficult is it to get teachers to actually qualify for some of these courses? Have you had a problem in finding teachers for some of these, or has it been fairly easy?
We've been fortunate. One challenge is in special education courses, those teachers that teach resource sections, finding special education teachers that also have a content area, math, ELA, science, social studies, certification as well is a challenge. It is. We are very fortunate. We have some great teachers with some great certs, and some that are current special education teachers working to add a cert right now so that they can continue teaching the resource classes, which are they love. So.
Have we lost anything because we couldn't find qualified teachers?
I don't know that we've lost anything yet, but we've had to really be, I guess, proactive when we're looking to hire. We're not just looking to hire anybody. We're looking to hire somebody that helps us with being the right fit, the right person, but having awesome certs as well.
And one thing we do, Mr. Gugleski, is Ms. Gregory, we have to emergency certify some people that have capacity to do it, and we know they did because they've shown it in the past, but they don't quite have the right certification. So the state allows us to emergency certify and carry them and certify them in that capacity, in the hopes that we'll find somebody when we post, or we keep moving forward with that person getting that certification.
The last one I can remember is ASL, the American Sign Language. It was really hard to find somebody, that we lost somebody to find somebody certified, and German, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we currently have a special education teacher that also has a family consumer science cert right now, which is really cool, you know, to be able to teach like a personal living resource classroom and things like that. So I don't know that we'll, you know, that those are few and far between. I will say that, so that's cool.
What's awesome about our staff at the secondary levels, they're always looking for opportunities to give students more options, always. So you see, you know, what are classes they could teach that'd be interesting for them, or something they could use in the future and be more successful. And so that's the thing we're always talking about, is which of those classes can we pull off and do.
General question, could somebody in main campus take something that's listed under legacy, or is it only go legacy to main campus?
It often is on the confines of the schedule. So because of Legacy's bell-to-bell schedule, it's easy for me to give them a first hour on main campus or a seventh hour for that drive time. So it would be more difficult, and we haven't really seen it or tested it, because those electives that you see are embedded during the time where it would be unfeasible for someone from main campus to get here and then back.
The other issue is with their staff too, because they have a smaller staff. So for example, they have a biochem class, which has bio and chem because they have one science teacher, where at the high school they have separate bio and separate chem. So it's just a different circumstance at Legacy.
Is there anything that you'd like to offer that, for whatever reason, we can't? Some resource or something that you would like the board to consider for future? And if it's something you need to think about?
Yeah, probably.
come back
Nothing
to
that
it.
comes to mind right off the top of my
Okay.
head, but certainly we could be creative.
I see you're shaking your head yes. So.
Well, we can be creative. Like, the brilliance that I have is how well that main campus works with us, right? The depth and breadth between the CTE, the art, the band, the theater available on main campus, it's usually no problem to get that figured out in a first or seventh hour with a simple phone call to somebody up there. They're more than accommodating, and we got a huge opportunities on main campus. So what we don't have here, we have a great relationship for.
Thank you.
One last question, too, with the language arts classes. I don't know if there's any kind of state requirement to have so many language arts classes. Is there a defined number that we must offer, like in terms of just, you know, Spanish, German, whatever, or anything like that? Yeah. Foreign language, yeah.
That's a great question. I don't know that there's a minimum or a maximum, but we are looking to add more variety in our world language, losing American Sign Language. Currently, we have Spanish and French. We would love to add another language or two. And I know we did post for that last year. We probably will consider posting for that again in the future, because that is a desire. A high school of our size and a premier high school, we'd love to add another language. It's hard to find. That's one thing. It's hard to find those people. So.
Yeah, and I was just curious if there was any kind of state requirement that says that you must offer this, so do whatever you can to find somebody that, no.
But uniquely, he does offer it. So like Hartland Virtual Academy, the students on main campus pick from the same repertoire of online courses, and they can take up to 7 different languages using their online access. And so they can, on main campus, just like an HVA, take Latin, take Japanese, take Chinese, take German, take ASL, all using their online curriculum opportunities.
We always do that each year, yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Yeah.
For our high school team? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thank you,
all.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
All right.
Okay, item 3B, bus purchase 2020 bond for discussion. Mr. Hughes?
So I am going to ask Matt to come up, and Rachel, jump in where you need to. But a couple things just before Matt gets here, and I don't want to steal his whole thunder. We've heard the board over the last couple years talk about decreasing the fleet. You'll notice in the numbers that we gave you that we're decreasing the fleet from 59 buses down to 53 buses in 26, 27. And I'll let Matt talk about why we need 53 buses and what's happening. We had a situation today where another school, not saying names, bus got inspected and was red carded, and it's one of the only buses they have, and they now have to figure out how they're getting their kids to school because they don't have an extra bus. So, Matt, why don't you talk about the numbers?
Yeah, so before you today is a recommendation to replace 5 of our buses. We continue to have a very efficient fleet and a very great maintenance crew who works on our fleet. We have, over the last few years, reduced our fleet based on enrollment, based on routes available to our families. So we have had a 59 bus fleet for many, many years. Just after COVID, we have seen a decline in enrollment in our area. Not much housing that has developed, and even though we have a few houses being built currently. So we've worked to reduce our fleet, which comes with reducing our spares. We continue to take athletic trips. So any given day, we could have up to 7 buses out. There are days that athletics does push us a little bit to have an 8th or a 9th, or I'm sorry, a 6th or a 7th, with which then we have a 2-bus field trip fleet that we do for elementary schools and things like that, if they go to the DIA or to the Howell Nature Center or something like that. So we do keep a spare fleet of buses. That is because anything can happen on a 96 square mile district. Probably 65% of our district is dirt roads, which takes its toll on our fleet a little bit. So when it comes to spares, we could have 2 or 3 or 4 in the garage being worked on by the mechanics, which we do not put those on the road until they get their final inspection from our mechanic fleet. We do unfortunately have to take some back to the dealer. It's nice getting new buses, but sometimes we have to take them back in for warranty work, that type of thing. And then we have to have spares available in case something happens. I explained to Rachel that her student's bus broke down the other day because of a door switch. Unfortunately, the driver couldn't get the door closed, and we can't operate the bus if that fails. If even a red light goes out, one of the red lights goes out, we cannot operate that bus. So we do keep some spares around just in case those things happen, which before they do happen. And last thing we want is not being able to take students home or pick students up on a daily basis. So to answer your question, sorry, I went on a ramble.
Mr. Marino, so is it the plan then, looking ahead, is it 0 for the next 2 years? Is that how I would read this
So we
table?
have been challenged to keep our fleet a little bit longer, which we have been doing, as well as reduce our fleet. So the plan is to not purchase for the next 2 years as much as possible. Obviously, if something happens, I might have to come before you again. But that is the plan, is to keep them a little bit longer, and our mechanics are up to the task to keep them on the road and keep them going. So, yeah.
And the thought process, Mr. Keller, is that we're going to look at a future bond. And by purchasing buses out of bond, we're not taking out of general fund and making payments, right? Or, depending on what the board chooses to do with the sinking fund, if we renew the sinking fund, we can also add the bus and technology language to the sinking fund. So sinking fund's available if all of a sudden we needed to buy a couple buses because we had something happen. So there's some opportunity there in no sense in putting those in the schedule right now if we're looking at those opportunities down the road. Rachel?
Ditto.
I have nothing to add.
No further comment? What was the last year that we had planned to purchase buses in the bond, do you recall?
This round is the last
This is
round.
the last year? Okay.
We originally planned to purchase 7, and so we've reduced it to 5, given obviously reducing our fleet.
And how much money was allocated in the bond for the buses, do you know?
In total, it was about $4.1 million.
For 25, 26?
Oh, for 25, 26, we have about $450,000 left in the bond. So the balance of this would come from our capital projects fund.
Okay. And what is the repayment period on that 2020 bond? When will that be paid off? What
Those
year?
bonds are typically 25 years.
So, it just strikes me as a taxpayer taking out a 25-year loan for a bus that's going to be in service for 9 or 10 years and have zero value at the end. Have we looked at leasing or other options?
First of all, before we answer that question, it's my understanding, Rachel, you can help Mr. Scott with this. Again, maybe a sit down in Rachel's office. Because you're buying buses with the bond, the state requires you to pay those buses off in a small period of time.
Quicker.
So that we're not incurring interest off of the buses in the bond project. So there's some terminology that Rachel could really help you with so that you would feel more comfortable with that. And then in regards to the question of leasing, Matt did contacted some operations on leasing.
Yeah, so I reached out to our vendor who we get buses from. Leasing is an option. It's not a fiscally responsible one. I feel like it's about $30,000 per year per bus that you would pay for. So over 9 years, you'd be paying about $260,000 for a $160,000 bus currently.
What about maintenance? Would that 30,000 include the maintenance
So it
of
does
those
not.
buses?
So the big thing that happens is that it does not include wearables. So brakes and those types of things that we're already going to be doing maintenance on in the first 3 years. So.
As a little side question, do we have anybody available to drive these buses? I mean, how are we doing with that situation in terms of
I
bus
can give you an
drivers?
update. Hopefully, I'm not going to hurt myself tomorrow and someone steps away. But we are, for our 37 routes, we are fully staffed. We've been making headway on that. We've got some great people in the door. We've actually gotten some people that have come back to us from previous years. So we've made some progress on that. We have, I want to say, 2 to 3 morning subs or infrequent subs type situation. We're still yearning for an afternoon sub. We've been doing a great job with athletic trips and things like that. But that's kind of the thing that kind of plagues us a little bit, is getting an afternoon sub.
What do you think's been responsible for kind of curtailing that issue of not having enough drivers? What has been the big thing?
The big thing, I think, is market. I mean, people are out there looking for jobs, which is a good thing. I mean, that obviously helps us in the custodial field too. You know, a lot of people see the value in that. A lot of people are unfortunately taking some second jobs. Some retirees have left their profession or taken early buyouts or things like that and looked for part-time work or bus driving work or something like that. So I think that's helped tremendously. Ultimately, I can tell you, I mean, even with conversation with Mr. Hughes, I think our sweet spot right now with our enrollment is actually 38 to 39 routes. That will help us reduce our ride time numbers a little bit for students, so they're not riding as long. But obviously, it's kind of interlinked with how many drivers we can actually put on the road also.
Just curious too, if memory serves, didn't we hire a transportation consultant at some point?
We did, yep.
And whatever came from that, whatever.
So, yeah, so we, you know, the consultant kind of told us what we know too, but also gave us some feedback that was pretty valuable. helping us with some marketing and helping us kind of with some feedback on our culture and our how we handle business and that type of thing. But I kind of felt it kind of just reaffirmed that we were doing a good job, and we just had to kind of plug away and keep our heads, on the prize and that type of thing. So
I think I can add to that is we also have spent some money. So we spent $33,000 to have the consultant tell us mostly what we knew, but helped us to kind of, okay, you could maybe market in this way or this way. But then we also joined the Livingston County Consortium, and we all paid for a marketing campaign from them. And so they're working with us on keeping that going. So together with all of the entities working and the job market changing, it is fluctuating, where we're starting to get those people that say, hey, I need a job, which is going to be helpful to us. And we're paying people 4 hours a day regardless, just to show up, even if they're a sub. Just show up every day and you're going to get paid 4 hours even if I don't need you is really important too. It's kind of like our high school and middle school having those subs show up every day when you get those last minute call-ins and stuff. So I think everything we're doing, we're spending a little money, but we're not having to tell parents we got to cancel the route. So
we are utilizing those standby drivers though at the same time. They're not just sitting type thing. They're hopping on buses and helping with some the driver support and things like that. So kind of that's helping our team also by getting them the support they need at the same time.
Matt, will you auction off the older buses, the same number that you get in, and then where does that money go from the sale of those?
So we do auction off the buses. The last sale, we actually had a few residents that bought them to convert to RVs type thing. And that check gets handed to Rachel and she deposits it in the general fund or wherever she puts it. So that's been valuable. Now, over the years, it's kind of fluctuated in terms of how much we get. It's kind of all about supply and demand type situation. So, years ago, we used to get, $7,000, $8,000 per bus. Sometimes it's a little bit more. I think the last round was about 12, something like that.
And that's general fund, does it go towards buses still, or does it just go as needed?
No, it just goes into a revenue line item, just to the overall operation.
Okay.
It's not designated for a specific purpose.
Mr. Marino, I see there's one bus that has an asterisk, which appears to be a handicap bus. So do those normally go through LESA?
Nope. So we mainstream as much as possible. We put our kids on the bus. We pick up our own kids as much as possible. We don't handle all special needs students because there's some restrictions to obviously what we can handle on our side too. So we tag team with LESA as well as ourselves. That's a thing that the district has chosen to do. We are the only district in Livingston County that does it. So we actually have 3 lift buses. So normally on a given year, as you look at the spares and things like that, it's fluctuated. We normally have 2 lift buses running between the entire district with 1 spare. This is the first year that we've actually reduced to 1 because of the need. And we have 2 spares right now.
I think there's something powerful about that. I feel inclined to say this is our student that's in a wheelchair that is simply in a wheelchair because they happen to have a disability to be in the wheelchair, and the team, the class is going on a field trip, and then they're going to ride the LESA bus versus the Hartland bus with all the, it just makes sense that we have those lift buses that ensure that our students feel like they're part of Hartland, and that's been powerful for us.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to understand if LESA normally owns those, because I wasn't used to seeing that. So
we
not
own those.
questioning whether we should have one.
Yeah, no, you're good. So those are ours, and we run a regular route and just happen to pick up that student on a regular route. So.
And those are all, so we have 3 of those buses?
We have 3 of those.
And they're all 2016s?
They're... No. So it looks like I didn't carry an asterisk over from 22. There's 1 in 22. See it on the first, back in 22-23 school year, there's an asterisk. Must have just not carried it.
Is there, so we have about $450,000 in bond money this year. And we're asking them to spend an additional $360,000 above the bond approximately. And then not buying any buses for the next 2 years. On here, it looks like with those additional 5 buses, our spares will still be quite healthy. Is there any reason, could we extend that out? Could we buy the 3 buses we have the bond money for this year and then get 2 new buses next year?
I mean, we can do whatever you want, I guess. It just comes down to, it's set up in a way that we're trying to move buses out in a regular fashion so that we're not overloading one column versus the other, or 1 year, I guess. I mean, we can do whatever you want.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was thinking. If we're looking at, we don't have any purchases scheduled for the next 2 years, if we didn't need all 5 right now and we didn't have the bond money for it, we could put those out to 26, 27, 27, 28, and then potentially have a bond by then to pay for them. Has that been considered?
Well,
or are
keep
we
it-
just trying to close out the 15s?
Well, keep in mind that the board put money into our capital projects fund because we saw that things were costing more, and we wanted to finish everything that we said we would buy in the bond. So we've got the money, we've got the bond money, what remains there, plus the capital funds account that we're carrying, that we should be spending on these types of things that we said we would spend on for the bond. So we've got the money, and it's there, and we think it's the pertinent thing to do. And if there's still money carried over in the capital projects or through sinking fund, or we get the bond passed, we've got avenues there. So we might go into this thinking we're not going to buy buses for the next 2 years, but we come back to the board in a year from now and say, well, we were wrong because these 5 buses went out of business for us. So we've got to buy buses.
I did forget something about next year, actually. There's supposedly going to be new emission standards coming in 2027, January 1st, 2027, that is going to require a new engine type situation. I'm hearing that new engine is, 1, it's going to be the first year of that engine, which I definitely don't want. And then 2, it comes with a $20,000 more price tag. So that is one of the concerns we have also, is possibly not buying next year. It's unknown. I know, the EPA and everyone's kind of been all over the place with emission standards lately.
Okay, any further questions for Matt at this time? You guys can always follow up between now and the next meeting when we've got this. It'll be on the agenda for a vote. Thank you,
Appreciate
Matt, for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Call me in the morning if I need to. I'll be up. Matt said we supposed to have icy rain in the morning.
Oh.
The pressure's on, Mr. Hughes.
Nice, nice. All right, that was item 3B. So we've already moved item 4, item 5. So we're on to item 6A, future meetings. December 1st, we've got a special meeting here for the mid-year part of Mr. Hughes' evaluation. And then our next regular meeting, last one before Christmas break, will be December 15th, also at 6:30 here in this room. Any additional information items? Anybody? Me neither. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.